Hey everybody, thanks so much for being here. Today is our lunch lesson live, so we're back to our regular lives on a weekly basis. Thanks so much for being here. If you're here, give me a little wave and let me know if you are on the live or on the replay. I'm always curious. I think more people end up watching on the replay, so I'd love to see who's here on the live. Just tell me live below, or if you're watching on the replay, just say replay. Let me know who's here. All right, today's topic is self-care, right? I feel like it is such an important topic, and it's always been, I'd say for the last decade, people have been talking about self-care, but definitely it becomes more and more prevalent, I think, as everyone feels a little bit, overwhelmed kind of a thing. So we're gonna get into that. Let's talk about what it is and some easy ideas that you can incorporate to have self-care and make sure that you address yourself, right? And because we often, I think, forget about ourselves. So we're gonna get all into that. I just want to take a quick moment to say thank you to everyone who voted. If you want to vote on a topic, every week I put out a poll on Tuesdays, and you can vote on the topic that would be most helpful to your business. So I would love to share what's been going on with your business. What are you struggling with? If there's a topic that you want to talk about, just let me know. You can always comment below, or you can reach out to me privately if you want, but I would love to address topics that are going to be really helpful to you and your business. What's going on right now that would be the most helpful. So let me know, and you can always vote on those topics each week or suggest one. So thanks so much for everyone for suggesting and for voting on this week's topic. Okay. So who is this for? This is for everyone, right? I like to say that, but really for women, right? Self-care. I feel like women are so good at taking care of others that we often forget to take care of ourselves, right? And I really think that is what self-care is, right? How it's been developed, and it's really because women forget to take care of ourselves, right? And I think that's why it is something that we talk about, we see, and we have to keep talking about and seeing to remind ourselves, right? Because it's so easy to, especially if you have kids, right? Or if you're caring for someone else, it's just really easy to kind of forget ourselves. So this video is really for women, I think, and business owners, right? Coaches, if you sell products, mompreneurs, if you are service-based, I think if you have a business at all, you are wearing a lot of hats, and you definitely need some self-care, right? You definitely need to remember that you have to listen to yourself and take care of your own self in order to recharge. So let's get into it. I always first like to say that, come into these videos with an abundant mindset. The real problem with saying that is it's so easy to get out of our abundant mindset, right? I say that our emotions throughout the day, right, and our motivation throughout each day is different, right? It comes in waves, and the world hits us with a bunch of different things, and and there's different people in the world, and all those things. So it's really hard to stay in our abundant mindset, right? It's one thing to say we have one, but to really stay in that mindset, I think, is the challenge. So the point is to have some tools, and I think that's really where self-care comes in. Have some tools that are easily available to you, that you are in habit of doing, so that when you feel yourself kind of getting out of that abundant mindset, that you're able to kind of use those tools to get you back into that frame of mind. So come into this with kind of an open mind, be ready to hear some things that might be different from what you're used to hearing, right? I always say that is really what business is about, is being open. Because if we're ready for change, right? If you're ready for change, you're listening to this because you're probably ready for change, right? Something struck you where you thought, I need to know some more information about this. So if you're ready for change, right, you really have to be open to some new ideas. So that's really where the abundant mindset comes in. And obviously throughout the day, we can get hit with a lot of different things that bring us out of that mindset. So if you joined us for our book club, right? If you listened or read the last book called Mindset for January in our book club, just say book club below. I'd love to know if you read that book, even if you didn't participate in any of the discussions. I would love to hear that. But that's really a growth. We talk about a growth mindset, right? So abundant mindset and growth mindset, I think those are really similar, that we want to stay in that frame of mind that all things are possible, right? Opportunities are abundant, and things can change, right? With different effort and different knowledge, things can change. So come into this, right, with a little bit of an open mind, because you might hear some things that maybe go against what you thought self-care was, or what you think it should be, right? And that's really the goal, is for us to be open to change and be ready for change and to hear new things. Okay, so come in with a growth mindset. So if you're new here, my name's Kristina. I've had a business for the last 15 years, right? Sounds crazy, but I've been helping other businesses for the last decade get seen online. I've had businesses of my own for the last 15 years. And I really think it is so prevalent to be overwhelmed, right? If you are overwhelmed in any aspect of your life, just say overwhelmed below, right? And this is a safe space here, right? No one's going to judge you, but it is easy to be overwhelmed. If you are wearing a lot of hats as a business owner, as a mom, if you're juggling a bunch of different things, it's easy to be overwhelmed. And that is really where self-care comes in, right? It is to help us not feel overwhelmed, or again, to have those tools to use when we are feeling overwhelmed, because it's going to happen, right? It would be great to say, oh, we're always in our growth mindset, we're always feeling abundant, but that's just not life, right? That's just not reality. So having tools to help us kind of stay in that frame of reference is really, I think, important. So I would say, right, definitely the last decade, self-care has kind of been in our minds, definitely online. People have been talking about it. I probably really started to dive into it on Pinterest, right? If anyone is on Pinterest, tell me below. I love Pinterest, right? I love it for business, but I love it more so for personal reasons, right? It is so fun. It's beautiful. It really allows you to just kind of scroll through, and there's so much positivity over on Pinterest. I really love it, and it's beautiful images and great ideas. So I think that's really where I dove into self-care. There's so much self-care happening over on Pinterest, and it really got me seeing, at first, when you first hear self-care, I think a lot of us think, oh, it'd be great to have time for a bubble bath, right? Or a monthly massage or something like that, right? And I think often we think that's what self-care has to be. Like, I'm gonna put it off. I don't have time for a bubble bath every day, right? I don't have time for a massage even every month, but it'd be great. And so then we're like, well, I can't afford that, or I don't have time for that. I'm just gonna put it off. It's the easiest thing to put off and forget about ourselves, right? But what I have really discovered over the years is I really think self-care is so much more than a bubble bath, right? It's so much more than what anyone tells you it should be, quite honestly, right? So we'll get into kind of my 3 steps to figuring out self-care for you. But I wanted to share a little bit about my background, right? I think, in high school, I was definitely a writer. That was how I dealt with emotions and getting my feelings out, right? Maybe many of you are similar, right? In our, I say, high school hippie emotional state. That's really where I started writing, and I really started journaling. And I think journaling is a really important part of self-care, right? If you are a journaler, I think count that as your self-care. That can definitely be part of your self-care plan. But if you're not a journaler, right, it's okay if you're not, and maybe think about trying to write some thoughts down. I just think it's a really helpful way. It's another avenue to kind of get the garbage and the junk, right? Maybe not garbage, but the mess, right? It can be really hard as a human and a woman. We have a lot in our brains. So to get it out, I think, is really important, and get it out in some healthy ways, obviously. So journaling, I think, is a really important way. So, obviously in high school, I didn't call it self-care at all, but it was such a good practice that I really think carried me through a lot of years in my life, where it really helped me sort through some feelings, right? And sort through what was kind of going on in the real world as well. So I think journaling is a really important part of self-care, and that's really helped me. So without realizing it or putting that label on it, I think I've been doing that for really the majority of my life. So hopefully a lot of you also are journalers, right? And find that helpful to you too. So even if we don't call it, right, or haven't called it self-care, I would consider that a part of self-care, is dealing with myself, right? Dealing with whatever makes me feel better, right? Is really the gist of it. So I would say, journaling kind of led to, right? Once I felt like I couldn't deal with things on my own, I would say journaling led to therapy. So this might get a little bit deeper than any of you really want, but I'm a big proponent of therapy, right? I say this to my mom, if you don't think you need therapy, you probably need it the most, right? So if you have ever thought about therapy, I don't want to, joke about it, because I think it is such an important part of us as humans and mental health. I think therapy is really amazing. So if you haven't tried it, by all means, I would say give it a go. Or if it's something you've thought about and put off, definitely I think it can be really helpful in so many ways. What I often say too is that therapy doesn't have to be that you're having a gigantic crisis, right? Therapy can just be, I call it my luxury friend, right? It's someone who I can go to and just be selfish. I can talk about myself for an hour and sort through my feelings, and it's a professional who knows how to guide me through my feelings of big or small and figuring kind of all that out, right? So that's a whole, side note of therapy. But I think therapy is a really important part of self-care. If you feel like that's something that you could use in your life, right, and you've been curious and wanted to try, I think it can be really helpful. And it doesn't have to be a giant crisis, right? I feel like we save therapy for, it's got to be something huge in my life. Well, it's not that big of a problem, but I'm just not feeling myself, or you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a giant problem. Certainly if you have a lot going on, I think it's really important to think about therapy. But even if you don't have a lot going on, but you just don't quite feel, and you need a little bit of some outside help, right? Those are some things to really think about. So I think therapy has evolved into a form of self-care. I really believe that. So I think that's what's helped me. So I really think journaling and therapy have been my number one self-care throughout my life. And I think that's what's really helped me. Then I think in the last few years, right, I have really tried to figure out, okay, I'm doing all the things, right? As business owners, as moms, it's really easy to just get busy, right? I make a to-do list, I do those things, and all of a sudden weeks go by and I'm like, oh my God, like what have I really done? Like I've been doing things, right? But I don't know that I feel like I've either checked in with myself, or time just kind of goes by, I feel like. And so I really had to really stop and think, okay, what are some important things, and what are some things that fuel me, right? And so a few years back I started, I wanted to read more books, right? And so then I started needing to find a time to fit in reading, right? I was doing all these things and I wanted to read more books and I couldn't find a time. So what I discovered is I started listening to audiobooks, Audible, while I was in the shower. So my get ready time is kind of like the only time where I'm really focused on myself, right? My body, my hair. It's the only time I really slow down. And so I started listening to Audible during that time because it was my time, right? It was like the only time of the day where I slowed down and focused on myself. And it was a really good time to absorb other perspectives, right? It was, and maybe the only time that I had to slow down and listen, and I could concentrate on something other than whatever I was doing. So I really felt that I loved that time, and I still do. I still do that every day. When I'm in the shower, I listen to a book, and that is my book time, my Audible time, and I love it. And what I started to realize is that self-care is the thing that you can do every day that fuels your soul, right? I really believe that self-care is whatever works for you. Self-care is the things that fuel your soul. And what fuels your soul are things that you want to do every day. And that's what turns into a habit. And that's how it can be more self-care in your life, right? Is that you can do it more when you love it and it feels good and you want more of that in your life, right? So I really think after that, then I started practicing the piano, right? I've played the piano my whole life, but been not very good at it. And so I've taken lessons throughout life, but I really started taking lessons again a couple years ago, and practicing every day was something that I found I really loved, and it helped me stop, slow down, and practice, even if it's 5 minutes, right? I often only practice for 5 minutes, and it's great. I love it, and when I love it, I do it more, and so now it's also a part of my everyday. If any of you know me too, I've also started learning the bass, the electric bass, just because I love the sound. So that's another thing that I feel like my piano and bass time might be 5 minutes, right? Maybe longer. Some days if I have more time and I'm really loving it, I might play for 30 minutes. But if it's only 5 minutes, that really gives me energy. It makes me feel good, makes me feel proud of myself, makes me feel like I've done something, I'm accomplished, right? It really fuels, I think, feeling good about myself and my confidence, and it gives me energy. And I heard many years ago, right, if something gives you energy, whatever that is, if it's your business, if it's your hobbies, if it's your, talking on the phone with your friends or your parents, whatever fuels your soul that makes you feel energized, those are the things, right? Those are the things that are filling your cup, if you will, right? Those are the things that are filling you up, fulfilling your life, and making it feel amazing, right? Those are the things that I would call self-care. So all of those are, right, examples of my self-care, what has worked for me. And I hadn't always called them self-care, but now I do, right? Now I say, oh, those are the things that I love. Sure, occasionally I would love a massage. Occasionally I would love a bubble bath, but, or a pedicure or things like that. Sure, those are things that you could call self-care too. But on a daily basis, the things that I do to fuel my body and soul and mind are the things that help me slow down and feel successful and feel accomplished and feel energized. So I really have now called those things my self-care, right? So I really try to journal. I try to meditate every day. I definitely listen to Audible. I play some music. I practice piano, I practice the bass. Those are my self-care. That's my self-care routine. And those are things that are free and I can do every single day, right? So that is what I consider my self-care plan. I'm always open to new ideas, right? And trying. I love to walk also, so walking I think is part of my self-care plan, and I really am trying to do that more every single day. So that is, right, if it's exercising, if it's yoga, if it's meditation, whatever you do that you love and fuels your body and mind, that is self-care. That really is. That is what I would call self-care. So here are kind of my 3 tips for self-care. The first one, which we've kind of talked about, is really define what it is for you. Don't let it be anything that anyone else has told you has to be your self-care, right? If it is a bubble bath, do it. If it's a bubble bath every day and a glass of wine, do it. If that is what you can do on your daily basis or once a week or whatever you consider your self-care, right? I think that is okay. The point is define what it means to you and what it looks like, because it can be different for everybody. And so often we take what we're told and think that that has to be the same for us, right? If reading is not your thing, don't do it. If playing the piano is not your thing, don't do it, right? That's what works for me, but it might not be what works for you. So really let go of whatever labels you feel like have to be self-care and define it for yourself. And if it's something that you're already doing, to me, there were things that I was already starting to do in my life. I just didn't call them self-care until I finally realized, oh, those are the things that I'm loving, that give me energy, that really make me feel fulfilled. And then all of a sudden I was like, I am taking care of myself. I am confident in myself. I am doing the things. And then I let go of, you should do more self-care. Oh, you should be doing self-care. You know what I mean? I let go of this, whatever it should be. Sure, I would love to do more of the, maybe taking care of your body, more walks, more pedicures, more massages, sure. But it's okay. It's okay if those are not happening all the time, because I really feel like every day I am taking care of myself. I am taking those moments to recognize this is what I love, this is what's fulfilling me and making me feel energized. So I feel like I'm already doing those things. And you might already too It's just you haven't labeled it self-care because it doesn't look like the same for everybody. It might not look like what your friends call self-care, and that's okay. But it made me feel better once I put the label on, oh, I am doing self-care, right? Oh, those are things I am doing that fuel my soul and mind. And that's okay. So number one, right? Define it for yourself and let go of whatever labels anyone else has. Define self-care for you. Number two, if you're not sure what self-care looks like for you, or you're so busy that you're definitely not doing self-care, then slow down. So number two, I heard this yesterday. If you are feeling overwhelmed by the news, by friends, by family, by work, by, kids, anything, if you're feeling overwhelmed, just take a little break, right? It is okay to slow down, even if it's for 5 minutes, right? I say meditate for 5 minutes if you've never meditated before, or if you're feeling overwhelmed or you can't even. Most of us can handle a 5-minute break every day, right? If you can't, try 2, right? Try 2 minutes. You can for sure take a 2-minute break to just slow down and be inside your body for a minute, right? Just taking that time is self-care, right? So I really think the number 2 tip is to just slow down and take a break. It's completely fine. And if you really look inside of yourself for those 2 minutes or 5 minutes and ask, what do I want to do? What fuels my body? What will make me feel relaxed, fueled, fulfilled, happy, energized? Those are all things that I think self-care can make you feel better, hopeful, right? Those are all feelings and goals, and the reason that we need self-care is to start feeling those feelings again, right? Is to not be so overwhelmed and to get energized, get hopeful, get motivated for the rest of your life, right? We need, like we said, in order to stay in our abundant mindset, we need different days require different tools, right? Different days are going to require more than others, for sure. Easier days, harder days, for sure. We all have them. So you've just got to have a few things in your toolbox when you're really feeling overwhelmed that, okay, I'm going to need a little bit more yoga today, right? Or, okay, I don't have time for yoga. I'm going to need just 5 minutes of breathing, right, for today. Whatever it is, right? Whatever that looks like, it's okay. If you start labeling it self-care, I think you feel better, but let go of what other people label self-care, because it's not going to be the same for everybody, and that's okay. So number 1, define it for yourself. Number 2, slow down and take a break. If you don't have any idea what self-care looks like, start there. Just slow down for a minute and take a break. That is completely okay. I heard once this idea of slow living, right? If anyone is doing slow living, type slow below. I would love to talk to you about what that looks like, because I think we get so busy and go, right? That's kind of our American way. But I really believe there are some days, and I let myself do slow house cleaning, right? Because it's not something I want to do, but I let it be slow, and it's okay if it's meandering, or you know what I mean? It's okay if it's slow. So anyway, I'm working on being slow, but even if it's just for 5 minutes, slow down, right? And really check in with your body and check in with yourself. So that's number 2. And number 3, I would say try it all, right? If there's a problem, throw everything at it. That's what I've been hearing lately, right? So try it all. If you're not sure what self-care looks like for you, definitely check out Pinterest, right? Pinterest has some amazing ideas of lists. And in fact, I have a quick self-care for business owners that has been on my website for years. And I'll put the link down below. So if you need a place to start, what does self-care look like, or what should be in my plan, right? Should, I think should is such a bad word, right? It shouldn't be anything that anyone else includes. But what does self-care look like for you? You could start with this printable, right? And try it all. Try it out. What can I fit in my everyday? I kind of think you'll feel better if you're able to do one thing for yourself every day. Even if it's 1 minute, 2 minute, whatever it is. If it's reading, listening to music in the shower, listening to Audible in the shower, if it's playing music, while you're doing the dishes, amazing. If it's a bubble bath, all the more power for you. If it's a glass of wine at the end of the day, if it is your favorite show, you know, I think all of those things that allow you to decompress, give you energy, fulfill your mind and body, those are all self-care. So don't be afraid to label the things you're already doing self-care, but also don't be afraid to let go of whatever labels you thought had to be self-care. If it doesn't fit in your life, right? If a bubble bath and a monthly massage does not fit into your life, that's not self-care for you, right? So find things that are going to fit into your life that you can do every day. And then of course treat yourself to that massage every once in a while, or a pedicure, or whatever it is, right? That are the bigger items that might be a little bit more luxurious, right? There's nothing wrong with having those luxury self-care items. But if it's something that you can do every day, I really think you'll feel better about, okay, I am taking care of myself, right? Often we hear this work-life balance, right? If anyone feels like they've figured that out, let me know. Work-life balance, tell me that below. But what I think it is more, and I keep hearing this from clients and from people that I've been talking to, is that it's more about work-life waves, right? It's more about not necessarily a balance, because a balance makes it feel like it's got to be equal, or you know, a certain percentage, or it makes it feel like it's got to be fair. I don't think work-life balance is fair. I just think there's going to be times where we're going to work more, and there's going to be times when we life more, right? And I think that's okay. I think on a daily basis or weekly basis, if you're shooting for some kind of even fairness with work and life, I think that's really a challenge. If you're able to do it, I think by all means, definitely we could probably all learn from you. But I really think more realistically, it is waves, right? It is ups and downs of work more, play more, somewhere in between, right? And I think that's okay. If you feel good about, if you're a person who loves to work, right? You might be working more than the person who loves to play more, right? And I think that's okay. Whatever I think is feeling good to you, whatever that balance or whatever that wave structure looks like to you, I think it's okay. Really, you're doing great. Whatever you're doing great. Don't judge yourself, right? This is a safe space. So I think you guys are all doing amazing things. And if you're trying to build a business, I think you are already 80% of the way there, because that includes motivation, and you have already figured out a lot of stuff along the way. So don't be afraid to pat yourself on the back and be proud of wherever you're at in your journey, right? And that is self-care. Just being proud of yourself is self-care. Absolutely, absolutely. So those are my 3 tips, right? Is to define it for yourself and take away, don't worry about labels that anyone else calls it, but what is self-care for you? And that's okay. Number 2, slow down, take a break, right? It's okay. It doesn't have to be your everyday self-care, but if you're overwhelmed, just take a little break. It's totally fine. 2 minutes, 1 minute, whatever you can do. And then the third thing is try it all, right? If you're not sure, try it all. Look on Pinterest, check out my printable below, try it all. What works, to find what works for you. If it's a quick hobby that you can do every day, if it's a quick, foot rub, if it is putting lotion on, right? Sometimes I feel like putting lotion on my feet. I'm like, man, I should do this more often. But that is a form of taking care of your body and taking care of yourself. I think a little bit more is to dig inside of your soul, right? What feeds your mind, what feeds your soul, what gives you energy and gives you motivation for the rest of your life. All right, so that is everything. If you are feeling overwhelmed, right, and you want to talk strategy, if you feel like your marketing is something that is really heavy on your soul, feel free to reach out to me. Just say strategy below. I would love to help talk and relieve some stress so that you can have more time for self-care, for sure. So feel free to just say strategy below if you are needing a little bit of an overall help to figure out where to go next with your business, right? If you're feeling stuck, let's get you unstuck. So just say strategy below. But otherwise, check out the printable. I'm going to post the self-care printable below. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I would love to hear what your self-care label or routine is. Just post it below. Tell us what you're doing for self-care. I would love to hear that. Thanks so much for